Live from Liberty Street Restaurant in the downtown Galleria, it's the Paul Hornung Sports Showcase with your host, College and Pro Football Hall of Famer, Paul Hornung. Brought to you by UPS. We run the tightest ship in the shipping business. By the Collins Auto Group, where one name means more. More selection, more value, more service. By Humana. High-quality healthcare services at affordable prices. By Coors Light, there's no slowing down the silver bullet. By your local Chi-Chi's Mexican restaurant, where every day is a celebration of food. And now, here's Paul.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Welcome to the Paul Hornung Sports Showcase. Of course, we're here each week at this time on Store, Cable Channel 11. We're coming to you live from the Liberty Street Restaurant in the downtown Galleria. Now, a lot of things have happened today that I think we better talk about. Of course, we got a Denny Crum situation with Dwayne Martin, the great player from Louisville Mayo High School. Where is he going to go to school? He signed with U of L. There may be a problem. We're going to talk about that with William F. Reed, better known to a lot of people around here as our old friend Billy Reed. He's going to be our guest tonight. In fact, this is the first actual missing in action person that we've had. Jimmy the Greek was supposed to be our guest. He called me Tuesday. He's got the shingles down in Florida. He's in bed. He assured me that he would, when he gets better, come to Louisville and be on the show maybe in a month or so. But I called my friend Billy Reed, and I said, Billy, you got to do me a favor. You got to come down. We got to talk about some bowls. We're going to talk about the University of Kentucky basketball program. We'll talk about IU, since he's a pretty good friend with Bobby Knight, who, if you don't come here, we're going to have serious problems before this year is over with. This has been a running thing. I tell you one thing, I've talked to Bobby Knight's secretary. Believe me, more than Bobby Knight has talked to his secretary in the last month. But we're going to get him here also. But anyway, Jimmy the Greek has assured me that he'll be here next month. I have rebooked, by the way, Gail Sayers for December 21st. He's going to be in town and hopefully be doing a little promotion for the Collins Group, which he does the commercials for Good Buick right now. And if you watch the show, you see one of his commercials. So Gail's going to be here a little later on in December. But anyway, we got a lot to talk about tonight. And whether or not this was just an inadvertent mistake about Denny Crum, which I think Terry Miners is in the background somewhere, and I'm sure that Terry, Terry knows everything. And I'm sure that maybe if we can prod him a little bit, we can come up and really, because we've been here at the studio, which is the restaurant for us, all afternoon, and we're not really up to date on this story, but we're going to bring you up to date on the story. Anyway, we got a good show for you. I got some great film of two of the best football players that are playing in the National Football League today. Keith Millard, who's probably, right now today, the best defensive football player. He's having the best year. Forget about Reggie White. Forget about Bruce Smith. Forget about Mike Singletary. Forget about Lawrence Taylor. The kid who's having the best year in all of professional football is a kid by the name of Keith Millard. He plays defensive tackle for the Minnesota Vikings. He already has about 14 or 15 sacks, and that's a good year at the halfway point. So anyway, we've got a good show for you. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Some insurance didn't even pay for your mom's allergy shots.
Well, you were cold last month. And because I didn't reach the deductible, it didn't pay for my stitches.
Humana has a range of plans to meet your needs, from affordable deductibles to no deductible at all.
Sue, what did my company insurance cover last year?
Nothing.
If you want coverage you can use, you want Humana.
Bill Collins, how do you do?
Bill Collins Ford celebrates their 20th anniversary with special deals available only at Bill Collins Ford. Now get 9.9 financing plus rebates up to $1,250. Most dealers offer one or the other, but now during Bill Collins' 20th anniversary, you get both. 9.9 plus rebates up to $1,250 on every 89 and 90 in stock. Choose from over 400 new cars and trucks at Bill Collins Ford. See Friday or Sunday's Courier Journal for details.
This is the shop of Samsat Pasar, a thriving establishment on the outskirts of Bangkok. Unlike other international executives, he has no phone system. No computers, not even a fax machine. He does, however, enjoy one modern and efficient service nearly 4 billion people in 175 countries today can take for granted. UPS. We run the tightest ship in the shipping business.
We could have been satisfied being the home of the chimichanga. After all, a chimichanga is the Chi-Chi's celebration, all wrapped up in a tortilla. But hearing you say wow wasn't enough, so we created the Cowabunga Chimichanga Special. It's our famous chimichanga, plus cheese, nachos, and sopapillas, all for $6.95. Wow, you say? No, Cowabunga.
Chi-Chi, Chi-Chi, a celebration of food.
If you feel life's more interesting when you make a splash.
It's the right beer now.
If you feel a great beer starts with great water.
It's the right beer now.
Because you're the kind of person who likes to get to the bottom of things. Call for the silver bullet, the one that won't slow you down.
Coors Light. It's the right beer now.
Welcome back to the Liberty Street Restaurant. My guest tonight, and I want to thank him for taking time out of his schedule. And let's welcome him. Of course, he lives here in Louisville. There's no use welcoming him. Everybody knows him. William F. Reed is here. How about that?
Let's welcome Billy.
Thank you for coming down at the last minute. I know I'm imposing on you a little bit. Billy had a speech to give somewhere in the city and asked to be put on an early program so he can make it. So I appreciate that, Bill.
My pleasure.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Bulls. I know you've been doing a story the last couple of weeks about college football. And first of all, tell me, Sports Illustrated now is a pretty big part of your life, right?
It really is, Paul. I don't think a lot of people here know that since I left the Courier Journal, but my biggest employer right now is Sports Illustrated. I've been doing the weekly college football and college basketball column for them for the last year and a half, and it's really worked out very well for me. Of course, I worked for them many years ago full-time in New York, and they're just a first-class outfit, and to be able to be associated with them, which I think they still epitomize the best of sports writing in the country, it's just been a great thing for me. I've really enjoyed it.
You know, we miss you here. It seems like, to me, every time we get a great writer, Kindred left. Of course, we went to the Washington Post. I've always thought Dave Kindred was one of the great writers.
He's the best. He's the best there is right now.
Ever read. And then, of course, can we talk a little about it? I know.
Sure.
Are you hot at the Courier over what happened? I mean.
Well, I think that's probably for you an understatement, Paul. No, it's I never wanted to leave the Courier. I saw myself as retiring here, and yet when the change of ownership took place, and they brought certain people in, it's kind of interesting to me. The same guy who orchestrated the Jane Pauley thing at NBC is the guy who is here who orchestrated my deal. So, and really I think Jane Pauley reacted the same way that I did. And that kind of tells the whole story. I mean, the guy just really, in my opinion, wasn't very fair. He didn't deal with people very well. And they gave me no choice.
How do you work the relationship with the TV? It's, you still do some TV work for WHAS?
Still do. Of course, when I left the Courier, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I've been very fortunate that various people have been willing. I'm kind of like you. You've always been my role model. Of course, the only way I'm like you is I'm about as big.
Had a job. You always had a job, though.
I'm about as big as you are. That's the only way I've been like you. But no, I have tried a little TV. And I'll tell you something. I guess I was like a lot of newspaper guys in that I kind of looked down my nose at TV. They weren't as good journalistically as we were. But I'll tell you something. Since I've been doing a little TV, I've got an enormous amount of respect for television journalism. Their problems are different than print guys. But they still have, there's a great degree of professionalism and a lot of pressure. And I really enjoyed the stuff I've done here for Channel 11 in Louisville, just the weekly commentaries. And it's kind of helped me, keep my name in this market and keep a presence here. And they've been really good to me.
What was your first, I've got a reason for asking this. What was your first assignment on TV and how much you get paid for that report? A lot of the TV people pay you per report, of course.
A lot of TV people pay about like you do, Paul. Just because I'm a good guy.
Listen, you're going to get
a cup of coffee. I mean, this is hey, listen.
You might get a
I'll
free
go a
dinner.
long way for a cup of coffee.
You might get a free dinner if if you're good tonight.
You're going to pick up the check?
Oh yeah, we're going to pick up.
You're worse than Crumb.
Maury, we do have a free dinner tonight, don't we? But anyway, it goes back. I had a sports writer on my radio show back in '69 when I was in Chicago. I was doing the sports, 6 and 11 o'clock, and we paid him $15 to do a report from the Mexico Olympics, Mexico City.
Right.
His name was Brent Musburger, and he made $15 per report.
I think you overpaid him.
Yeah. You're not a fan of Brent Musburger.
I like Brent. I think Brent does certain sports very well, but I think he does too much.
I think so, too.
I think they really overextend him, and he gets into some things where he really doesn't know a lot about. But I think he's a real pro. I like Brent.
You know, Brent took over for me when I left WBBM in Chicago and did the 6 and 11 o'clock, and then on to history. But he's a pretty good role model, I would think, for any journalist, because he's gotten to the top very, very quickly, and he stayed there. He's fought to stay there, too.
He's fought to stay there, and I think the best thing about Brent is he's a very hard-working guy, and his mind is always clicking. I saw him down, I covered the Alabama-Tennessee game for Sports Illustrated a couple of weeks ago, and I saw Brent, and Brent is the kind of guy that says hello to you, and all of a sudden he's firing 18 questions at you. He wants to know what's happening in Kentucky basketball, what about the Breeders' Cup, this and that. And to me, that tells me that he's really trying to stay on top of things, and I respect that.
All right, let's talk about first the Breeders' Cup this past weekend. Did Pat Day blow it again, or what?
That may be putting it a little harshly, but probably you're very close to it. I have great respect for Pat Day. I think he's one of the top 2 or 3 jockeys in the country, Paul, but I want to see Easy Goer run next year. I'd like to see him have a few races with a different jockey.
You know, here we go again. He may get, but although I hear Shug McGahee, the trainer, came out this week and said Pat Day will be the rider.
Well, Shug is very loyal to Pat, and you have to respect that. But I think that even the best jockeys don't always fit every horse they ride. And I've come to the conclusion that I just don't think Pat Day fits this horse. I'd like to see him try Pinkai, Cordero, and if the same thing happens, if Sunday Silence, and I would have said the same thing if Arthur shows up tonight, but if Sunday Silence still beats him, I'd say fine, he's the better horse.
We're going to have
I still think, Paul, Easy Goer is a tremendously talented horse, and I think it's really, it's just unfortunate that he's lost a couple of these races the way he's lost them.
It's the name of the game, though. If you're the jockey on a horse like that, you're going to get blamed for those 2 losses, and 2 losses, of course, I'm talking about the Preakness and last week's Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, I think you give him a legitimate excuse in the Derby. I think the track and the weather here was just, he just couldn't handle that.
It still remains to be seen, though. This horse has not won any stake, any race outside of New York. He broke his maiden in Gulfstream Park, but he's never won a race outside of New York.
But to me, the thing is, you look at the way he finished the Breeders' Cup Classic. I mean, he's just eating up ground. He's coming. He obviously had a lot of horse left. So what are you waiting for? Why are you holding that long?
Okay. What about, let's talk basketball. We're about ready to open up the season.
I saw you play basketball, by the way, when you played for
really thrilling, wasn't it?
It really was.
Huh?
I saw you play basketball, and I said, gosh, he's a heck of a football player.
I was known as a white I was known as a white Skywalker in the West End in those days. You know that?
Well,
the only way I could dunk is if I got on a ladder or something.
I don't think they had dunks back in those days, Paul, and especially not you.
That's right. Let's talk a little basketball. What do you think about the Kentucky situation? I think they may surprise a few people.
Well,
I'll tell you one thing.
Then you and I can bet every game.
No, you know, Billy, I don't bet anymore. You know.
You told me just.
I'll tell you one thing.
You told me we were going to tell the truth on this show.
I think Kentucky may surprise a lot of teams, only because I think they're going to outwork most of the teams that they're going to play against. This guy Patino, I understand, is working them from 6:30 in the morning to 8:30 at night.
I agree with you about Patino, and I agree with you they're going to work hard, and I agree with you they're going to hustle. But every time I think about Kentucky, I keep coming back to the fact that John Pelfrey's the power forward. And nothing against John. He's a good kid. But, I mean, it's just they really are undermanned this year. I think if Rick Pitino, Paul, can win 10 games, I'll vote for him for National Coach of the Year. I mean, I can't remember a time. I think you've got to go back to when, long before Coach Rupp's time, when Kentucky was at this great of a disadvantage in the talent department.
How much you think Pitino makes a year?
Well, he's
about
as much as you do, and I got you at about 6 figures, 7 figures.
You've got to be crazy. Let me tell you something. Everywhere I go, when they start talking about Kentucky basketball, they say it's got to be the best job in America. You know, as far as remuneration as far as dollars are concerned. It is a lucrative job, and I don't think he would have been here. I mean, the money was a big part of it.
There was a lot made of his salary, which was $700,000 a year, counting all the benefits. But I tell you, that's competitive with the top coaches in the country. Bobby Knight's making about that Indiana. Denny Crum is making about that here. You look around the country, I guarantee you Valvano's making that much. Dean Smith, it was a little unfair to single Patino out for making that kind of, because that is the going rate for the top coaches. And I tell you, I went down and had a meeting with him last week, and I'm really impressed with the guy. I think he is just going to be a marvelous coach at Kentucky. I do think he's going to have them back on top quicker than anybody thinks. I think this guy's going to do it, and he's going to do it right is the main thing. But I think this year Paul is expecting a little bit too much because they just don't really have the players. Like I said, if they can win 10 games, it'll be a miracle.
Well, speaking of players, we're going to come back. We're going to talk about the University of Louisville, who seems to be loaded. I think they're going to have one very, very good basketball team. We're going to ask Billy about that. We're going to talk about the Bulls, and we're going to find out maybe from a surprise guest what really happened today in the Denny Crum situation. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
When only the best is good enough, you'll always find the best at Roof Lighting. Diverse designs, superior styling, unsurpassed quality, and a professional staff to assist you. That's Roof. And opening soon, Roof's new lighting design center in Eastgate, just east of Middletown. An additional location to serve your total lighting needs. Roof Lighting, the complete lighting, design, and planning centers. Here for you because you deserve the very best.
Here's to the people who work so hard to keep our city going. And here's to all the things you do to keep our city growing. Here's to the people we're looking to make this city's dreams come true. To the people, hard-working people, Bank of Louisville's here for you.
You're in Hong Kong. I like it.
I like you loud and clear. I like you close and near. I like my MCI. I like to wander and roam. I like to call back home. I get more. I like my MCI. I like my MCI.
You know, I've been investing with J.C. Bradford for over 20 years. Why? Well, first of all, I trust them. They know what they're doing here, and the bottom line is I've made money with J.C. Bradford. You don't have to have a large portfolio to get good service from Bradford's brokers. Here at Bradford, they treat everyone like a big investor. They really do care. So if you want to watch your money grow, call J.C. Bradford and let them go to work for you. I did.
Beautiful furniture from who? Smith's Furniture, that's who. It brings out the best in everyone.
Okay, we're back. My guest tonight is William F. Reed. Ford.
That's correct.
William Ford Reed. Okay.
Very good.
It reminds me of Joe Beesman Hall.
Oh, please.
I mean, that's your man, isn't it? Isn't that your man, Joe Beesman? We're going to get Joe Beesman on. Would you try to help me out a little bit?
I'd love to question him about
Would you like to question?
Sure.
All right, we'll have you on. Maybe we'll have Joe Beesman. Maybe we'll have Terry Miners do the imitation like we did of Joe Dean, you know, when we had Joe Dean here.
Are you going to have Miners on this program tonight?
Well, I think he's hiding. He's back there somewhere. He's the only guy that I really...
If you can't get Geraldo Rivera, I guess you get Miners.
That's right.
Kind of
exactly. He's got a better sense of humor, I'll tell you that. Anyway, Billy, let's talk a little Bulls. It looks as if my team, of course, you know, I do the Notre Dame games every weekend, and I get a chance to see them. It looks like they're going to go to the #1 bowl. They're going to make the #1 bowl out of the Orange Bowl, and if they can get by Miami, it'll be one hell of a game with Colorado if both teams can stay unbeaten. Can Notre Dame beat Miami? What do you think?
Well, it's going to be really interesting, Paul, about what the bowls do. As I understand it, the bowl invitations are going to go out at 6 o'clock on the night of November 25th, which is about a half an hour before the kickoff of the Miami Notre Dame game. So that's going to kind of put the bowls out there on the limb a little bit. I definitely think that Notre Dame will beat Penn State, and I think the Orange Bowl then will be obligated and invite Notre Dame. And even if Notre Dame were to lose to Miami, which is a very real possibility, the Orange Bowl would still have the national championship game, because then Colorado would jump up to #1.
That's right.
And but that would open up all kinds of interesting possibilities. If Miami were to beat Notre Dame, if then they go to the Orange Bowl and say Colorado or Notre Dame then meets Colorado, then maybe the Sugar Bowl. I think you're going to see in the Sugar Bowl, you've got an unbeaten Alabama team now. They could be playing Florida State, who's the hottest team in the country, maybe the best team in the country right now. So all of a sudden, a couple of other bowls would come into play in terms of who would be the national champion. But certainly right now, the Orange Bowl is in the catbird seat.
How about Notre Dame? Notre Dame, actually, what we're saying is Notre Dame, win or lose against Miami, has still got 2 chances to win the national championship.
Exactly.
If they beat Miami, all they have to do is defend their right, and if they lose, they can regain it with the win over undefeated Colorado. So
they're in a very good position. Of course, you and I went up to see the Notre Dame Pitt game a couple of weeks ago, and Notre Dame could be a team, Paul, that's just now getting good.
That's right.
They played their best game, I think, against Pitt, and they have so much talent. I've been voting with the New York Daily News. They've been conducting a poll, a Heisman Trophy poll, and I've had 2 Notre Dame players among my top 3. I think Ismail and Tony Rice both deserve serious consideration for the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, well, I think Ismail is the most exciting football player I've seen play since Gale Sayers.
On your best day, when you're at Notre Dame, if you had to get in a foot race with this kid,
race, what's that got to do with anything?
I mean, how?
Foot race.
Is he just a little bit faster than you were?
He's a little bit faster, but maybe he might have trouble blocking a 250-pound linebacker, too.
And you played both ways.
I would tell you something. This kid is going to be one of the real greats. I mean, he could play. It's amazing. What's been more amazing to me than anything is they took this kid and put him at tailback, and he breaks tackles running with the football.
Yeah.
He's their best tailback. Believe me, he's better than Ricky Waters running from the tailback position.
And I think something that Lou Holtz has done with him that's very intelligent is that he really kind of plays him sparingly. He keeps him fresh so that you get down into the late in the third quarter or in the fourth quarter when the other team is starting to wear down, all of a sudden he's back in there, he's fresh, and boom, he's gone.
All right, let's talk about Kentucky. They can go to a bowl.
Sure.
They got Vanderbilt this week, right? Then they go to Florida and finish up. They have to play Florida at Florida, right?
Yeah, I'll make a prediction for you. I think Kentucky will beat Vanderbilt, which will assure them of a winning season. And I think they're going to go down and beat Florida. I think Florida right now is a team waiting to get beat. They just lost their quarterback because of that gambling thing. They're going to be playing Kentucky off back-to-back games against Auburn and Georgia, which are their 2 biggest opponents. And I think, and plus Kentucky always plays well against Florida. There are a couple of teams in the SEC that Kentucky never plays very well against, but there are also a couple that they always play pretty tough. And Florida's one of those teams they play pretty tough. I think Kentucky will go down there and beat Florida, and then that puts them in a position against Tennessee where they got them in Lexington. And certainly Kentucky's a team that, my goodness, if anybody deserves to have a few breaks go their way, it's Kentucky. So I think Kentucky's looking at 7-4 at the worst, and they got a good shot at 8-3.
You know, the Peach Bowl loves them. They brought 25,000-30,000 people to Atlanta, and I'm sure they haven't forgotten that.
I think certainly a mid-level bowl, and Peach Bowl, Liberty Bowl, somewhere.
What about the Dwayne Martin situation here in town?
This is where you're going to bring on your special reporter, Terry Miners.
Terry's hiding in the back. But anyway, I understand that Mrs. Morton and the coach, Mr. Johnson, came into Denny's office Monday and talked to the coach. And he told him he would love to take him to dinner, but it's against NCAA rules for him to pay for it. They went over to Masterson's for dinner. They have, I understand, if I'm correct on this, could be wrong, they got a 48-hour blackout rule where you cannot talk to an athlete or a recruit 48 hours before he's going to sign.
But before the start of the signing period.
Before the start of the signing period. And, of course, if anything, this is the most inadvertent thing in the world. Denny's not going to go over there knowing that he's breaking a rule with the NCAA, which brings, there's so many crazy rules with the NCAA. Billy, is there any way we can alleviate some of these stupid rules that we have?
I was in Lexington this afternoon where Dick Schultz.
Kentucky's making a big thing out of this thing.
Dick Schultz, the head of the NCAA, spoke to the Lexington Rotary Club today. It was his first appearance in Lexington since the sanctions came down. Nobody threw anything at him. There was no tar and feathers. As a matter of fact, it was really a pretty well-behaved group. But Schultz even admitted that the NCAA rules book is too voluminous. There are too many rules. It's too big. And he said that part of his thrust as the executive director of the NCAA has been to try to streamline that thing a little bit. Of course, you can't get those changes done overnight. If I had to make a guess about the Crum thing with Dwayne Morton without knowing anything about it, I would think this would come under the kind of the same heading as the contact that Indiana had with Funderburk here during the All-Star game. There is a such thing as an inadvertent violation, whereby a coach thinks he's doing the right thing, thinks he's abiding by the rules, but there's either been a rules change or whatever that he wasn't aware of. And the NCAA, as they did with Indiana, in those occasions does show some leniency. And the reason I think that is that Denny Crum is sitting here now, Paul, and he's got another 4 years to go, say, on his deal with U of L, his 10-year deal, where he's going to collect $1 million bonus at the end of that. And the big stipulation, though, is that they don't get into any trouble with the NCAA.
Right.
And you and I know Denny well enough to know that he's not going to do anything stupid to jeopardize that.
No. Now, let's talk about another friend of yours. As I understand you talked. Did you tell that Bobby Knight I was going to shoot him next time I saw him if he doesn't come down here and be on the show?
As a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought that up, Paul, because I'm now acting as Coach Knight's agent.
Yeah.
And I told Coach Knight what you were paying me to appear here tonight, and he said that wasn't satisfactory. So
one thing about Knight, I know he doesn't care about money. If he didn't take any money from that book, which was the #1 best-selling book in America, and how much money did he turn down over that thing?
He probably lost, Paul, on that book, and you're talking about the Season on the Brink.
Season on the Brink.
That was a remarkable story. That book sold, I mean, John Feinstein made over $1 million on that thing.
And Bobby had...
And Bobby, had you had the normal relationship between a subject and an author, Bobby would have gotten at least 40% of that. And he just, you know, he's not, you're right, he's not a really smart businessman. Unlike you and I, profit does not motivate him.
That's right, I tell you. He did that. When you come to think of it, folks, it was #1 on the bestseller list, New York Times. Bestseller list.
No sports book has ever done that.
That's right. What about Indiana? They got a lot of great freshmen up there. Supposedly have the best freshman class he's ever had.
Coach Knight called me yesterday, and we were discussing your situation.
What did he say? Is he going to make this show?
Yeah, it's still a little, you know, it's we're still working on it.
I might have to send a 747.
As you well know with him, nothing's ever easy.
No.
It's always hard. Yeah. He'll show up, though.
You think he's going to show up?
I'm very confident of that. But he sounded very good about his team. I mean, they're very young, and obviously they're going to make a lot of mistakes, but he seems to be really pleased with what he sees out there right now. And I think you're looking when they get Damon Bailey in next year. If Indiana doesn't win another national championship or two in the next 5 or 6 years, I'll be very surprised.
Okay, we're going to be back with Billy Reed in a minute. We're also going to have a drawing on a special company in this area that's going to win a big trip. Stay right with us.
I never imagined that a prescription would cost $80.
My insurance keeps going up, and it doesn't even cover prescriptions.
The Humana Gold Plan can cover prescriptions, vision care, and all Medicare-eligible doctors and hospital costs.
There's so much Medicare still doesn't cover.
Chances are the Humana Gold Plan covers it.
It's all so complicated.
No, it's all so easy. Call 1-800-647-0070 now.
Bill Collins, how do you do?
Bill Collins Ford celebrates their 20th anniversary with special deals available only at Bill Collins Ford. Now get 9.9 financing plus rebates up to $1,250. Most dealers offer one or the other, but now during Bill Collins' 20th anniversary, you get both. 9.9 plus rebates up to $1,250 on every 89 and 90 in stock. Choose from over 400 new cars and trucks at Bill Collins Ford. See Friday or Sunday's Courier Journal for details.
In places beyond the reach of other overnight delivery companies, you'll find UPS. Because unlike the competition, only UPS Next Day Air guarantees delivery overnight to every single address coast to coast. And because we're so efficient, we can do it for up to half what other companies charge, whether the place is hard to reach or easy to reach. UPS, we run the tightest ship in the shipping business.
For help with the design and purchase of a new air compressor, you need Air Systems. For service or repair of your present system, you need Air Systems. For parts and lubricants for your air compressors, you need Air Systems. If your compressed air system fails at any time of the day or night, you need Air Systems. I'm Jim Turner, owner and president of Air Systems. If you need a new air compressor, parts, repair service, or emergency rental, call me at Air Systems in Louisville.
You're always a winner at Churchill Downs because there's just no feeling like the winning feeling.
Come see the colors. Come taste the taste. Come see what makes us like no other place.
Experience the magic of Churchill Downs, the rich tradition, the friendly people, the beautiful new comforts. At Churchill Downs, the fun never stops.
Churchill Downs.
Welcome back. Now it's time to bring a little class into the show. I want you all to meet a good friend of ours, Emily Pinto, who's the National Director of Challenge the Ultimate Corporate Games. And Emily, why don't you tell the folks what we're going to do tonight?
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. Tonight we're going to be doing a drawing for what we call the Wild Card. And this is a company that has competed in one of the challenge events across the country who will be representing their company and employee team at our national finals, which will be coming up in December in Las Vegas. And what we do with Challenge is we're a national production company and we stage corporate sporting events. We're based here in Louisville. And we have done a series of 12 competitions across the country at which companies in local markets have formed teams of employees to compete against one another. Philip Morris won the local Louisville competition, and they will be going on to Las Vegas. But tonight, what we've done is we put all the non-winning teams in this drum, and by the luck of the draw, not by the virtue of any athletic prowess or anything, we're going to be drawing one team from across the country who will get the trip to Las Vegas to compete in the national finals. I'm going to give it a good spin here, see who we get.
Liberty Street Restaurant comes out of there with the win. I'm going to jump off this bridge.
Maybe, because dinner was pretty good.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Okay, in this envelope we have, oh my gosh. They actually called me today because we sent out notices that we were doing the filming. They're going to try and get the show on satellite disc, but I understand that it's not seen in St. Louis. But the team that will be representing St. Louis for the Wild Card will be Laclede Gas. And they're very excited. They asked me to call them tonight at home to let me know they won.
Thank you very much, Emily.
Thank you, Paul, for having us. I appreciate it.
There's one thing I always like, Billy, and you too, a free trip to Las Vegas.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
It'd be free if we could get out of there even. Let me ask you one thing. By the way, before you go, I want you to take your lovely wife, Donna, and a free dinner to Chi-Chi's.
Terrific.
And maybe we'll give you another one so you can take Stallings, because I'm sure Stallings, your private attorney.
Stallings loves a free meal.
He can't get there without anywhere else but a free one. And this is a beautiful little keychain that we give to all our guests, courtesy of Singh Jewelers, the best jewelry in town.
And thank you.
We want you to have that as courtesy. And before you go, Billy, tell me what you're doing. I know you live in Louisville. You're with Sports Illustrated. You've got a few other things. I know you're in business with Jim Holst down in Lexington, too. Tell us what you're doing.
Mainly, Paul, as I said earlier, my main employer now is Sports Illustrated. I've been working for them now for about a year and a half. Writing columns 2 or 3 times a week for the Lexington Herald-Leader, which, by the way, is a terrific newspaper. I don't know if you've seen it lately, but with the color photography and the way they're covering the state now, it's been a great pleasure for me to be involved with them. I think they're doing a terrific job in sports. I am doing some stuff with Jim Host, who does all the programs and radio and stuff for the NCAA, not only the basketball tournament, but all their championship events. So I've been basically staying pretty busy and really probably happier now than I've been in a long time.
Billy, I want to thank you again, and let's thank Billy Reed for coming down here and getting me out of a tough hole tonight. Thank you very much, Billy. I'll be right back with the UPS College Football Forecast. Stay right there.
We could have been satisfied being the home of the chimichanga. After all, a chimichanga is the Chi-Chi's celebration all wrapped up in a tortilla. But hearing you say wow wasn't enough. So we created the Cowabunga Chimichanga Special. It's our famous chimichanga plus cheese, nachos, and sopapillas, all for $6.95. Wow, you say? No, Cowabunga.
A celebration of
Bill Collins, how do you do?
Bill Collins Ford celebrates their 20th anniversary with special deals available only at Bill Collins Ford. Now get 9.9 financing plus rebates up to $1,250. Most dealers offer one or the other, but now during Bill Collins' 20th anniversary, you get both. 9.9 plus rebates up to $1,250 on every 89 and 90 in stock. Choose from over 400 new cars and trucks at Bill Collins Ford. See Friday or Sunday's Courier Journal for details.
Mr. Ian McKenzie. I'm Angus McKenzie. Ian's moved down the road.
Today, with service to 175 countries,
Oh, you'd be wanting Ian Alistair Mackenzie.
UPS delivers to nearly 4 billion people,
Also for Mackenzie.
including the extraordinary concentration of Mackenzies along the northeast coast of Scotland.
Mr. Ian Alistair Mackenzie.
No trouble finding me, did you, lad?
No trouble at all.
UPS, we run the tightest ship in the shipping business.
If you don't want to slow down on your way to the top,
It's the right beer now.
because you know to make a beer as refreshing as a mountain stream, you got to start with a mountain stream.
It's the right beer now.
When a night on the town might last all night, call for the taste preferred at better night spots. The Silver Bullet, the one that won't slow you down.
It's the right beer now.
Okay, welcome back. Welcome back to the Liberty Street Restaurant. And this is the time of the show where we take a look at our local teams and teams within the area, see what they're going to do. And it looks as if Purdue has got a shot at a win. And I'm going to pick them over Northwestern this weekend. They should win. Indiana should beat Wisconsin, get back on the winning track. Their bowl hopes have been knocked in the face a little bit, but I still think Indiana may get to the bowl because of their great running back, Anthony Thompson. If they can win the last couple of football games, they will be in some kind of bowl. And Kentucky, as Billy and I were talking, they still have a shot. I think they're going to beat Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt. Keep in mind that Kentucky, I think, has lost 15 straight road games. They have not won a game in a couple of years on the road, so they've got a wonderful shot. You won't believe this, but Notre Dame is 56-point favorites over SMU. And, of course, I'm doing the game for Sports Channel America. I'm going to have dinner with an old friend of mine tomorrow night, Forrest Gregg, who is the coach of SMU, and a former teammate of mine who I think has done an outstanding job. He's starting 18 out of 21 in the starting lineup. They're all freshmen. So, of course, they're coming back off of the death penalty down there at SMU, and they got a pretty good man handling that situation down there in Forrest Gregg. Notre Dame should have little trouble with SMU, of course, and they're getting ready for their final 2 games. You know, it's amazing when you really come to think of it. Remember back 2 years ago, Lou Holtz was 13-10. That was his record. He had lost 4 or 5 games by a total of 11 points. Now he has won 21 straight games. If he beats SMU, which he will have the longest winning streak in Notre Dame history. 22 straight games without a loss or a tie, which would be a Notre Dame record. Last of Notre Dame teams that accomplished that was the 46-48 teams of Frank Leahy, those great football teams. So Lou Holtz in a very short time has gotten Notre Dame back on top. Louisville will travel to Memphis, and they will beat Memphis State this week. They must beat Memphis State this week. They possibly could still go to a bowl game. And now you might think I'm crazy, but if they can beat Boston College and Syracuse over in Japan, I think if they win those 3 games, maybe hard to let the team stay over there for a little while. But anyway, I really think that Louisville will beat Memphis. And Miami and Pittsburgh, one of the big games. Miami should have little trouble with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is not as good a football team as everybody believed. Before they played Notre Dame, we thought that Pittsburgh was a little bit better than that, but Notre Dame proved that you can almost do anything you want to against that Pittsburgh defense. You can run it and you can throw it. So Miami, and this is one of my best plays of the weekend, Miami will beat Pittsburgh, and we'll be We'll be back to take a look at the best defensive football player in the National Football League in just a minute, so stay tuned.
Every night while you're sleeping, UPS is maintaining its status as the only company that delivers overnight to every address coast to coast. And we guarantee it with UPS Next Day Air. And because we're so efficient, we'll still do it for up to half what other companies charge, which is guaranteed to cause our competition some sleepless nights. UPS, we run the tightest ship in the shipping business.
It's here. It started. Lotto has come to make new Kentucky millionaires. And just one more thing. Now, summarizing my key points.
Play Lotto Kentucky. Tickets are on sale now, and the drawing is at 7:28 p.m. on, well, take a wild guess. It's a whole new reason to love Saturdays.
Bill Collins, how do you do?
Bill Collins Ford celebrates their 20th anniversary with special deals available only at Bill Collins Ford. Now get 9.9 financing, plus rebates up to $1,250. Most dealers offer one or the other, but now during Bill Collins' 20th anniversary, you get both. 9.9 plus rebates up to $1,250 on every 89 and 90 in stock. Choose from over 400 new cars and trucks at Bill Collins Ford. See Friday or Sunday's Courier Journal for details.
It's the right beer now.
But not now.
It's the right beer now.
But definitely not now.
Coors Light, it's the right beer now.
And absolutely, positively, not now. No way.
Come on, Jimmy, let me get your cap. Huh?
Each week we have a little special about something that pertains to the National Football League. And before we get to the Coors Light NFL Paul's Picks, I want you to watch because it's very unusual. If you ask everybody in the National Football League, a lot of the fans who is having the best year defensively in the National Football League, this man's name would never come up. He plays with the Minnesota Vikings, and he's having probably as good a year playing defensive tackle as anybody who's ever played. Believe me, he has over 14 or 15 sacks at the halfway point, and that's unbelievable. Take a look.
Minnesota's Keith Millard packs plenty of punch. And in 1989, the Vikings' defensive tackle has been a knockout from the opening bell of the season. Through 8 games, Millard has already floored opposing quarterbacks for 13 sacks, a record pace that has elevated him to the heavyweight class of NFL defenders.
I think he's the most dominant football player in the NFL right now, defensively anyway.
Never have I seen a man obsessed to get to the quarterback, which I love. He's the type of guy that if he decides he wants to get to the passer, it's hard for 1 or 2 guys to stop him with his determination. He just comes every play until he's almost totally exhausted. He's willing to throw his body around. When he breaks clean and the quarterback's about to bolt away from him, he lays out and trips the guy up. I call it the lawnmower swing. When a guy's running away from you, you just take that arm and swing it like you would be cutting grass and try to trip him up, and it's successful on him.
Basically, all that is desperation. Usually you'll never see me hit too many quarterbacks up high. It's usually right around the legs because they usually can juke me pretty good or, you know, put some kind of move to free up to get away from you. So usually you find me just out of desperation lunging at them.
Whether he lunges from below or smothers from above, the fifth-year defensive tackle has beaten a consistent path to the quarterback throughout his career. But this season, Millard isn't the only Viking putting heat on the passer. Henry Thomas, Al Noga, and number 56 Chris Dolman have all contributed to Minnesota's league-leading sack total, as the NFL's #1 rated defense is launching more weapons than any offense can handle.
That was a great play, man. And knocked the ball out, recovered it. Great coverage. He didn't have nowhere to go to. That killed them.
When you got all those guys that can come after the quarterback and come off the ball like we do, you can't just concentrate on everybody. And once we get on a roll, there's no stopping us.
So far, there's been no stopping Keith Millard, who may begin to feel more heat himself as he draws closer to Mark Gastineau's single-season sack record of 22.
There is a little pressure because everybody does expect you to go for the record and get 3-4 sacks a game, but it's just not going to happen. The more sacks you get and the more games that are come, the more offenses are going to load up on you. I got a tough time because I got a center and a guard on me at all times, so it literally wears me out to get that record by the end of the season, and I got to be fresh for the playoffs. So I'll get as many as I can get, and I'll try to go for the record, but I'm not going to put any kind of pressure on myself to do it because I'll drive myself nuts.
He's already driven quarterbacks nuts through the first half of the season. And regardless of whether he puts his name in the record books, Keith Millard's performance this season is sure to leave a lasting impression on the NFL.
I think without question they got the best football team in the National Football League, yet they do not know how to win. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the playoffs. If Herschel Walker can get accustomed to the system, he's got to play much more consistent with Anthony Carter on offense and that great defense. They definitely have the best football team in the National Football League, but I still don't think they can beat the 49ers. I think the 49ers, with Montana at quarterback in a game in the playoffs, you'd have to go with Montana because they know how to win in the playoff games, and I don't know if Minnesota has yet to learned how to win. Now let's take a look at the Coors NFL lineup for this weekend. Miami, by the way, what's the best team to bet on the National Football League so far after 9 weeks? It's Phil Simms and the New York Giants are 7-1-1 against the spread. They're the best team. They got the best record in the National Football League, and also they're the team to bet on. Other two good teams, of course, are the 49ers. They're at 7-2 against the number. Also, the Denver Broncos, and as we've been telling you all year, when they play at home, they're almost a cinch. They're 7-2 against the spread. What's the worst team in the National Football League to bet on? Would you believe the Washington Redskins are 1-6-2 against the number so far this year in the National Football League? Last year, they were a good team to wager on. This year, they're terrible. Also, at 2-7 are Dallas, of course. Dallas has beaten the spread the last 2 weeks, though. And the Jets, the New York Jets, are only 2-7. So now let's take a look at this week's lineup. Miami goes to New York. They're 3-point favorites. Now, this almost looks too good to be true. You would think Marino can beat the Jets. Miami's banged up a little bit. I like the Jets at home for one reason. Joe Walton has been fired about 5 times in the National Football League. It seems somehow he's like a cat. He bounces back. This is one of the games that he'll probably bounce back at. And I think the Jets at home will awaken, and I think they will upset Miami. I'm just taking a wild guess on that one. The Bears, 3.5-point favorite at Pittsburgh. Now, the Bears have not been a good road team. I was up in Green Bay last week, and I watched that game, one of the great games between the great rivalry of the Bears and Packers, and the Packers won on that instant replay. And the Bears, again, are going to have to travel to Pittsburgh, where Pittsburgh plays well. Bubby Brister is back, and I think it's going to be a close football game. I like the home team dog here. Tampa Bay offensive line is all banged up. Minnesota, they haven't been a great road team this year, but I'm going to take Minnesota and lay the 5. They're coming off that game last week. Indianapolis is at Buffalo. Buffalo 6.5-point favorites. Dickerson is out, and I want to tell you Jim Kelly is back, and I really like this game. I think this is one of the best games of the week. Buffalo lay the 6.5 at home. I think they'll run up a lot of points, maybe a 20 to 30-point win for Buffalo. Denver is at Kansas City. Now this also looks like Denver's 7-2, having one of the great years. They've got a lot of great young football players in their defense. Kansas City, one of the best teams at home. They lose a lot on the road, but when they're home, you know, they really seem to play well. But I like Denver. I just think Denver's a better football team. Elway is not having a good year. He's being criticized at home and on the road, but I think he's going to have a good game against Kansas City. Their defense is hurting. Green Bay, 1.5-point favorites over Detroit. They've lost all the road games so far. Green Bay coming off a big win last week against the Bears, and Detroit with what they call their silver stretch offense, which is a run-and-shoot offense that Jim Kelly used to run down at the Houston Gamblers in the old USFL, his ex-coach. This team is not as bad as they've been playing. I like Detroit at home. Green Bay has had trouble on the road. And New Orleans goes to New England. New Orleans a 3-point favorite over New England. Steve Grogan is a lot better quarterback than anybody else New England has, and they put the old coach in there. He's also a coach. New Orleans always is having some trouble on the road. Again, I'm going to take the home team dog here, plus the 3 over New Orleans. And we'll be right back with the rest of the National Football League Paul's picks in just a minute.
If you feel life's more interesting when you make a splash.
It's the right beer now.
If you feel a great beer starts with great water.
It's the right beer now.
Because you're the kind of person who likes to get to the bottom of things. Call for the Silver Bullet, the one that won't slow you down.
Coors Light. It's the right beer now.
We could have been satisfied being the home of the chimichanga. After all, a chimichanga is the Chi-Chi's celebration all wrapped up in a tortilla. But hearing you say wow wasn't enough. So we created the Cowabunga Chimichanga Special. It's our famous chimichanga plus cheese, nachos, and sopapillas, all for $6.95. Wow, you say? No, Cowabunga.
Chi-Chi, Chi-Chi, a celebration of food.
You're always a winner at Churchill Downs, because there's just no feeling like the winning feeling.
Come see the colors. Come taste the taste. Come see what makes us like no other place.
Experience the magic of Churchill Downs, the rich tradition, the friendly people, the beautiful new comforts. At Churchill Downs, the fun never stops.
Churchill Downs.
Okay, welcome back. We're going to take a look at the final 7 games on the NFL lineup for Sunday night, Monday night. Washington travels to Philadelphia, and that's always a knockdown, drag-out affair. Doug Williams back at quarterback for the Redskins. He's not consistent. Philadelphia playing at home. I like the Eagles and lay the 5 points. Dallas goes to Phoenix. Dallas has won 2 games in a row with the number. I'm going to stay with them. Phoenix is all banged up in their offensive line, and I like Dallas plus the 7. Don't ask me why. Cleveland, 2.5-point favorites over Seattle. Now, this is another game that you say, well, Cleveland's going to be a playoff team. Seattle's backed up against the wall. They're a home team dog. If they lose this game, they're out of the playoff situation completely. I'm going to take Seattle at home plus a 2.5. New York Giants are at the Rams. The Rams, what's happened to the Rams? They got off to a flying start, won their first 5. They've been in a tailspin ever since with a 5-4 record. I like them at home. Home team dog, 2.5 points. The Giants, 8-1 on the year, one of the best teams in the league, but they're going to have their problems out in Anaheim. Atlanta and San Francisco. Now the 49ers, been the best road team in the National Football League. I like Chris Miller, plus the 10 points. He's the most underrated young quarterback in the league. You don't read too much about him. This kid's going to be a great football player. 49ers, I still think, are the smartest, best football team in the league outside of talent of the Minnesota Vikings, but they're the team you got to beat. The Raiders, 5-0 against the number, 4-1 straight up with new coach Art Shell, the first black to become a head coach in the National Football League. What a job he's done. He's got the Raiders thinking playoffs. I like the Raiders. I'm not going to get off the Raiders. We won every week picking the Raiders. We're going to take them for the 6th straight week plus a 2.5. Cincinnati is at Houston, the House of Pain. Will Boomer Esiason be back? James Brooks may be back. If they're back, I still like Houston. Cincinnati hasn't played well on the road, so take Houston. We'll be right back with the special little announcement in just a minute.
Some insurance didn't even pay for your mom's allergy shots.
Or your cold last month.
And because I didn't reach the deductible, it didn't pay for my stitches.
Humana has a range of plans to meet your needs, from affordable deductibles to no deductible at all.
Sue, what did my company insurance cover last year?
Nothing.
If you want coverage you can use, you want Humana.
Paul Hornung here for J.C. Bradford. You know, I've been investing with J.C. Bradford for over 20 years. Why? Well, first of all, I trust them. They know what they're doing here, and the bottom line is I've made money with J.C. Bradford. You don't have to have a large portfolio to get good service from Bradford's brokers. Here at Bradford, they treat everyone like a big investor. They really do care. So if you want to watch your money grow, call J.C. Bradford and let them go to work for you. I did. Okay. And I don't have to introduce too many people. This young man who's just decided to jump in here. This is Terry Miners.
Forced my way on here.
All right, Terry. First of all, you just got off the air. You came over.
Okay, I'll just catch up on the news from today. Here's the deal. Robbie Valentine, who's one of the assistants over at U of L, was out with Dwayne Morton, the recruit's mom, and the Central High School basketball coach. They're over around Crawford Gym. He's showing the mother and the coach a video, an anti-drug video, something to that effect. They all just sort of bump into each other. Crum and, from the way I understand, Crum and Valentine were going to have dinner. Denny says, I think we're all going to go out and have dinner. We can go, but I can't pay. I can't pay for the dinner. That'd be against NCAA regulations. They went to Masterson's, had dinner. He didn't think anything about it, apparently. Last night, Rick Pitino, feeling a little soured after not getting this kid, held a press conference and said that hey, there's a 48-hour period before the signing where you're not supposed to have any contact, and he's pitching a stink about it. Today, U of L, Bill Olson and Denny Crum have lodged, or have filed a form with the NCAA to tell them what's happened. So we'll see in the long run. But like Billy Reed said earlier, it's probably one of those inadvertent things. Obviously, Denny said, I'm not stupid. If I thought I was breaking law, I wouldn't go to Masters.
Does that give you any food for thought? I'm sure we'll see a satire on this.
Well, I already picture students over at U of L at this very moment with piles of lumber. They're stacking them up. Big bonfire tomorrow night. For the football game against Memphis? No, we're going to burn Denny's Diners Club card, I think is the idea here. Get them all out of here. It's going to be fun, though. I pictured Denny locked up in his room now, probably for the next 10 years, or at least till he gets that $1 million, all alone, and somebody coming along every night. Mr. Crum, your dinner's out here. You know, he's eating alone for the rest of his life. No more of these problems, that's for sure. Oh, by the way, I also want to get in here and just thank you. I got to live a fantasy the other day. I went to Green Bay, Wisconsin with this guy, my hero, that turned me on to the Packers when I was a kid anyway. And when this guy walks through the stands in Green Bay, Wisconsin, they all still give it the, there's Paul Hornung! Oh my God!
No, not completely.
No, they do. They do holler, and they still love him back there for bringing all those championships and all of the great times in Green Bay instead of the bummer days they have these days. Now, it's getting better, though.
They've had a few long years.
A couple of years ago, though, when a lot
but anyway, I got to tell you this. There was a gentleman who snuck in the ball game. He got up to the press box, sat next to Terry. Terry got his name. He was very nervous. He called him in Michigan, and you made a star out of him on your radio show.
College student. He sneaked into the game, and then into the press box, and then into the locker room after the game. I told him next time you're having dinner with the president after you've sneaked into the White House, you know, tell him we all said hi. I think he's figured out how to do it.
He was your real hero, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right, the whole day. Thanks a lot. That was great.
Okay, good. We enjoyed it. Anyway, next week, we got Billy Kilmer of the Over the Hill gang with the Washington Redskins. He'll be in here. Of course, he's going to come in a few days early. He wants to go to the racetrack. And we're going to hopefully have Arthur Hancock, the owner of Sunday Silence. He's going to come in here and tell him how happy he is. We hope you enjoyed the show. And remember, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, next Thursday night, right here. Same place, same station. Thank you very much. And thank you.
The Paul Hornung Sports Showcase has been brought to you by UPS. We run the tightest ship in the shipping business. By the Collins Auto Group, where one name means more. More selection, more value, more service. By Humana, high-quality healthcare services at affordable prices. By Coors Light, there's no slowing down the silver bullet. By your local Chi-Chi's Mexican restaurant, where every day is a celebration of food.